Welcome to this edition of Joy in Our Town. I'm Ann Farrell Tatey, your host, and I'm delighted today to welcome my guests, Shar Miller and Sharon Armel. They are with the Butterfly House, and our issue today is public safety, and our topic is human trafficking. Shar and Sharon, welcome to the program. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
So, Shar, I'm going to start with you. Can you tell us a little bit, what is the Butterfly House and how did it come about?
The Butterfly House will be a home established in our area, a safe home for minors brought out of sex trafficking. It is the only home in this area that will be established for 11 to 17-year-old girls. The average age in trafficking is 11 years old. These little girls are forced to perform up to 50 times a night. Actually, they're slaves.
Wow.
Yes.
So how did you come to know about this?
Well, the history is that I volunteered in the jails in Muskegon, Michigan, met a lot of girls that I thought were prostitutes, came to love them, minister to them, and understand their heartbreak and why they were where they were. And a friend of mine, who is a sociologist in the high school, invited me to a meeting in Grand Rapids. When I went to this meeting, I was shocked to find out that sex trafficking and human trafficking is done in the United States. We have 300,000 women and children and men that are trafficked in the United States. 200,000 are children. I always thought trafficking was done in countries, third world countries like Cambodia, Thailand, India, Europe, but never in America. I have never been more wrong. I moved back to my home in August of 2012, back to Virginia, and I was walking the boardwalk one day, and because of what I had learned in Michigan, I saw about a 15-year-old girl being trafficked. I saw the way she was dressed, I saw the way she was pulled. And I looked around, and no one seemed to even notice, and I learned enough to know that you never get in between a pimp and his girl. The least he will do is knock you down because she's money, she is property.
Right.
So I started walking and praying. I was really moved by what I saw, but yet felt helpless at the same time. And I felt God say to me, build a house. And I thought, how can I build a house? I don't have the funds. I don't even know if I know anyone with the funds. And after a while, the Lord said, be relentless. They were the only two words he spoke to me. I went back to the apartment where I was staying, and my friend said, have you read the book Undaunted? And it's written by a lady named Catherine Kane. And in her book, she said, be relentless.
Wow.
So I felt this is what I was going to do, and I began establishing the Butterfly House.
Wow.
We are now a public charity, a 501c3.
So let's go back to the 15-year-old girl, or the girl about 15 that you saw. What did you do, or what can you do if, you know?
Well, if you see a girl trafficked now, you could call 911. The police in our area, in the 7 cities in the Hampton Roads area, are now fully engaged in helping traffic victims.
And what exactly does it look like? You said you knew right away from the time you spent helping people in the jail. What for somebody who doesn't know, what should they look for?
Well, usually the girl is dressed in unusual clothes. This little girl happened to have boots on, the fishnet stockings, a short little skirt.
She was on the boardwalk?
She was on the boardwalk.
And was this during the day?
This was in the late afternoon. She was being pulled. Her hair was stringy. She looked very, very thin. She looked frightened in her face.
So we should call 911 when we see that.
Yes.
Or now with everyone with phones, maybe take a picture of what we're seeing.
Yes, but you would have to do that. No. I walked the other way.
Oh,
it is dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, you don't want to get between that situation.
No, it is the largest criminal industry in the world. It finances drugs and guns. The mafia is fully engaged.
It's a $32 billion industry as of right this moment. $32 billion.
Well, you know what's hard to understand is how do they, walking on the boardwalk, what did he intend to do? Was she supposed to just walk up to people?
Oh no, he probably was her pimp, and he was taking her to a John who had
okay.
purchased her for a given
yeah.
amount of time.
So what is, and is this boys and girls, I would imagine?
Yes, the average age for boys, I've already been asked to build, we've been asked to build a home, and I said, what age for boys? 7.
Oh my gosh.
I have a letter at home written by a young man. He was working at a 7-Eleven. A contractor came in, showed him pictures of his group of boys that he owned, and asked him to join. He told his manager, and his manager said, don't get involved. Later, the contractor came back in with an 18-year-old boy. This young man who was a clerk tried to warn the 18-year-old boy but could not get near him because he stuck very close. And this man, this contractor, was a pimp. Later on, the contractor killed the 18-year-old.
Oh my gosh.
He was arrested, his ring was disclosed, and now he's in prison. Now this was a man that was trusted by parents, never thinking that he was hurting their children,
Right.
trafficking their children.
Well, how do they find these young people? I mean, a 7-year-old, that would have to be kidnapping.
Foster care. Most of these are runaways. 60% of trafficking in our area come from foster care. Within 24 hours to 48 hours, either a spotter or a pimp will pick them up. A spotter is someone who will see, I want to go back to the girl.
Yeah.
We have on our website films, clips, and one is called The Lacey Story. And Lacey was a young girl, and a spotter found her. She was 13 years old.
My goodness.
She went to church. She was in a youth camp. So it doesn't matter whether you're in church or out of church.
Right.
They have the ability to see if you're vulnerable. These children usually come from broken homes. They do not have a father figure, and they're very vulnerable. And so the spotter will come, and he will give her beautiful clothes, have her nails done, have her hair done. He will promise her trips, vacations.
And take her on this trip.
And he becomes her Prince Charming. She's waited all her life. In Lacey's case, it was a 24-year-old football player in a university. And he was a spotter, and he will be paid by the pimp. And he took Lacey, and he did exactly that. So she falls in love with him. And he says,
And she's 13?
she's 13.
My goodness.
And he says, I know you love me, but I need you to do this for me.
Oh, wow. So
And that's when
how
it
they
begins.
do it.
Yes.
Now, how do you help them, how do you rescue them?
Okay, the rescue process is usually the police will do a sting, and they will rescue the girls. And the girls will have an opportunity to go to a safe house. The problem now is we do not have enough safe houses.
Right.
It's true.
Well, and even how do the police do the sting? Like, is it from a tip or?
Usually from a tip. Usually from a tip. They have calls where they either call in and they act as though they want to be a buyer. They're John. Back page
Back page?
on Craigslist.
Oh.
Yes.
So that's how
Yes.
they're scanning those things. Well, how do the police get the community involved to start looking for some of these things like you saw on the boardwalk that day?
Well, I don't know how the police do it. I do know that last year the police put on a seminar for hotel owners in Virginia Beach
Oh, yeah.
to show them what was really going on in Virginia Beach with the trafficking. And that was one way of educating. People need education. And the Virginia Beach Justice Initiative, led by Pat and Lori McKenna, they will go into the school systems. They will speak about what is being trafficked. You can look around, and I can assure you, I was a substitute teacher in a city of this in the Hampton Roads area. I heard the girls speaking. Parents will traffic their children for money.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
So Sharon, how did you get involved in this, and what is your role?
Char and her passion for these children
Yeah.
offered me an opportunity to help. And once I learned some of the facts, some of the things that were going around us that we just aren't aware of,
Right.
it about broke my heart. I mean, I have grandkids,
Yeah.
and you see babies that are taken
Oh my goodness.
and abused. And you can't see this and not get involved.
Right.
I believe. It's my personal belief that you take something to that effect and it will either change you or you're going to walk away and pretend you didn't see it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I believe that happens a lot. But it's becoming known.
Right.
Even here locally, several months ago, there was a big sting operation where there was, in a local hotel or motel in the area, they discovered children who were being trafficked and being used.
And it's not only sex trafficking, now isn't it also domestic? Like they find them to, clean as slaves, basically.
Well, it's slavery.
Yeah.
These girls, you think, maybe someone would think, well, why don't they just run away? Well, where are they going to run to?
Right.
And by then they're so traumatized. They're traumatized when they're brought into a foster care system. They're vulnerable. They do
Right.
not feel they are loved. They do not feel they belong. We need, a normal, typical home. You're loved. You have your mother and dad there.
Right.
And they're going to be nurturers. These children are not nurtured.
Right.
They are slaves. What keeps my passion going is I saw a story about a young girl in a room with a light bulb, a toilet, and a bed. And she said on Christmas Day she had to, lack of a better word, serve 97 men.
Oh my
We're home on
goodness.
Christmas Day opening presents. This is slavery.
Right.
William Wilberforce said, "You may choose to look the other way, but you will never be able to say you did not know. If you ever thought you would be an abolitionist in slavery times, here is your opportunity to be an abolitionist." These children need a community. They need to know that they are loved by a host of people who
Right.
care, who
But
want
it's
to
hard to
provide.
reach. How do we reach them? Unless you see a young girl, it's hard to find out where they are to even reach them.
Well, when there are no homes for them, that's why we need the homes. I was
Yeah.
listening to a lady last night. Just in Virginia, there are 4,600 children that have run away from the foster care system. And the foster care system, there's no system that's perfect, but they need help. We are beginning to join forces.
Yeah.
Scott Ridgel, a bill has been passed. It's HR 4980. And we're waiting for President Obama to sign that bill. And that bill will provide more finances for the foster care system to be able to give more love and provide better care for the children in that system. But these children are traumatized.
Right. We're going to take a quick break and we're going to continue this important conversation right now. But I'm Ann Farrell Tata. You've been watching Joy in Our Town with Char Miller and Sharon Armel, and we'll be right back. Stay with us. Thank you. Welcome back to this edition of Joy in Our Town. I'm Ann Farrell Tata, and I've been joined by Char Miller and Sharon Armel of the Butterfly House, and we've been talking about some of the issues with sex trafficking, and we are going to change it a little bit and talk about rehabilitation in the safe houses. So thank you for staying with us. When we went to a break, you were telling us about this new bill that is waiting for a sign to go into passage. Can you talk a little bit more about that and how it's going to help?
Well, I can begin with that Virginia was part of the Dirty Dozen, meaning the 12 states in the nation that did very little for sex trafficking. And now I'm happy to say if you go to the Polaris Project, you will find out that we are now in the green. My last time to visit the site, we are a D, which is good. I mean, it really is compared to where we were. And we can thank Scott Ridgel for that, and our senator, and we can also thank Virginia Beach Justice Initiative, Richmond Justice Initiative.
What are those?
Virginia Beach Justice Initiative is headed by Pat McKenna, who's an attorney, and his wife Laura McKenna, and they are the co-founders of Virginia Beach Justice Initiative, and they go to Richmond to help pass these laws. They also speak in the high schools, and they are speaking to make public awareness of the trafficking in our area. We are the second largest area in Virginia.
That is amazing. So, and I think that's the key, though, is the awareness. I just don't think people realize, and like you, and like a lot of us, we thought it was a third world problem, not a America problem, and specifically not a Virginia Beach problem or Tidewater. So what legislation needs and what is helpful to combat this problem?
Well, the bill, H.R. 4980, was a bill that's waiting for President Obama to sign to fund the foster care system, where the children in the system and the foster care parents will receive the monies they need to be able to give better care. Provide better for the children.
Well, and going back to some of these, you said that some of these victims are in the foster care program, but not by the foster parents, right?
No.
So the foster parents aren't doing this?
I would say for the most part they are not.
Oh my goodness.
I could not answer that. I just know they come out of the foster care system.
Well, and how do when you talk about the spotters, how, like the young man you talked about earlier with the football player, the 24-year-old football player, how are they being recruited? Because it seems like we need to start there too.
From what I can understand, if you want to get involved in sex trafficking industry, it's you can find a pimp. The pimps years ago, they dress very flashy, and you would know there's something about them. And of course, the girls we thought were prostitutes. Nothing could be further from the truth.
They just look like normal
traffickers. They are normal people.
Yeah.
Normal people.
And they're approached because they need money.
Oh, right.
So it's an easy way to do this. They approach a college student who is in debt and up to his ears and perhaps needs a way to make easy money, and that's how they're approached.
And they must not realize how serious this is and how damaging it is to the victims, because I can't imagine people doing this. Nobody's that desperate for money, you would think.
They may not to begin with. I can't speak to that, but they may get in it innocently thinking, and I'm sure it's the same way that they approach a child,
right,
and lure them in, versus they're lured in too.
Right.
But you're right. Information is a weapon.
That's key. Absolutely.
And I think that sometimes your conscience becomes seared, and the money becomes more important. It's hard for us to understand that these boys and girls, they're like a chair. They are property. They have lost every right. They do not see them as someone with feelings and emotions. These people are criminals.
Right.
And that brings us back to what has happened in our state. One is, if you are caught, let's say if a John, that's a person, these are new terms to me, that is a person who buys the child from the pimp, who is the slave owner.
Oh, yeah.
If he is caught, we have a forfeiture law. His car, he loses his car, he loses his property, he loses everything.
Wow.
If it is a minor.
That's good.
It is, but it wasn't always that way.
Right.
It's just recent.
That's what got us in the green.
That's what got us in the green.
That's right.
If it is a minor, 16 and under, he could go from 20 years to life.
That's great.
What Pat McKenna has said, who is the director of VBJI, is why that age? We want to see the age higher.
Yeah.
Victims are victims.
I agree with that. Yeah.
And so that is our hope there. When we did a fundraiser, we were at the Virginia Beach. It was a farm. I'm trying to think the name of it. The Virginia Beach Hunt Club Farm. And it was our first fundraiser, so we were so excited. And we had two separate families come up to us both in tears and thank us. They were at a local business in Virginia Beach in the Red Mill area. Their little children, they had to protect their children. They were being grabbed.
Oh my goodness.
I'm talking little children.
Wow.
See, these men, I learned from one seminar I went to, they call themselves hobbyists.
What is that?
Trafficking children,
my
buying
goodness.
children for a night.
Wow.
They call that a hobby. And if you go online, they will talk about their experience,
Oh my
which
goodness.
you have to prepare yourself for the words they use.
Well, let's talk a little bit about rehabilitation. Can you, because this house that you're planning is to help rehabilitate. So
Yes.
so I'm sure you're going to have counseling service. I mean, how
Oh,
are they
absolutely.
rehabilitated?
We already have a counselor, and I'm going to let Sharon discuss what we're going to do. It's exciting. We have people waiting. We're going to have all types of therapy for the children.
Yeah.
And I know that for a fact because people have come up, and I can see, I can look in a person. I know this may sound silly, but I look in their eyes, and I see the passion.
Yeah.
You have to think, suppose this was I think if someone did this to my grandchild,
Right. Right.
you have to make this personal.
Right. Yeah, well, that's part of what you guys are doing today
Yes.
is helping people know that this problem exists and that there also is hope.
Oh,
for
there's
them.
so much hope.
Yeah.
And Sharon's going to tell you what we're going to do at the Butterfly House.
Well, we are going to have several different types of therapy. We are going to have equine, the horses.
Oh,
is what we're,
right.
because you know as well as I do, you go into a hospital and they bring in the dogs and it calms, whether it be a child or an elderly lady. And we're also going to have garden where they can really work the earth
Yeah.
and get out there and become just at peace with it. I mean, that's something they've never had, is they're always living on the edge. There's no way for them to have any downtime and just relax and be a child.
Right.
And we are going to have the counseling, and we are going to also have what we call a prayer room where they can go if they choose to and just be who they are, just be able to sit and enjoy life for a change.
Right.
We're going to have a pool so they can be a normal child.
Yeah.
We're going to have the art therapy. We're going to give these children, we pray, a chance to be children.
Right.
A chance to be able to be into a family atmosphere is what our goal is. To make it dinner around a big table at night and to sit and find out how everybody's day went and what you did and discuss it with them and find out let them know that we care
Right.
and give them an opportunity to know what a family truly is. And it's not going to be an easy thing. It is going to take a lot of love,
Right.
a lot of care, and a lot of funds.
Right.
But it is worth doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is worth doing.
So now these are minors that you're
Yes.
going to take in. Will they be, wards of the state, or I mean, what about? Will you have?
We have to bring in Child Protective Services, of course, but I've already talked to 2 different Child Protective Services, and they're very excited and very encouraging that we're going to do this.
So you'll be sort of like foster parents, or whoever is running the home will be like foster parents that they'll be assigned to have authority over these kids.
We'll have an 8-bedroom home. We'll have 2 house managers, 2 house mothers, who will have 4 children under their care. They will be homeschooled, and they will.
Because they're going to need to heal. They're going to have time
Yes, they
for
could.
the.
Yes, it's like
Right.
being back in the womb again.
Yeah.
And starting over. And we already have a nutritionist online,
Wow.
and who are very excited to teach the children.
Yeah.
And then they will come to, there will be a schedule. I heard a psychologist speak. If you put children on a playground and there's no fence, they all huddle together.
Oh,
But if
wow.
there's a fence around the playground, they feel safe and they run and they play. So children love boundaries, but these children will have to learn to trust us.
Right.
They have been
Right.
violated.
Right.
If you think of a child who's 11 years old, raped 50 times a night, There are stories
Unimaginable.
where I've heard one where her feet were nailed to a board so she would not run away. I went to a seminar where run Vice Squad in Newport News. This young girl was captured, and he wanted to get her on drugs. You get the children on drugs, you have them.
Yeah.
Well, she wouldn't do that. Well, he made her eat the pipe.
Oh.
They will knock their teeth out. One girl they brought almost drowned her.
Oh my gosh.
They become almost like robots. They're totally and completely controlled. They live in fear. They will threaten and say, if you run away, I know where your mother and your brothers are. I will kill them.
Well, this is horrifying, but I'm so thankful that you guys are going to have an option for these kids that are just really suffering. And I'm really appreciative that you came and shared this with us, because this is going to help with getting the word out. Because I really just think this is not something that's known around our community at all. So we are going to close out, but I'd love for you to, real quickly, we have about 10 seconds left for you to give your website information, so if somebody wants to contact you.
Yes, if you go to The Butterfly House, thebutterfly.house, and you can go online and learn a lot of the things that we spoke about today.
And how they can reach you as well.
And you can reach me there as well.
Okay, great, Shar. Well, thank you so much. And Sharon, I really appreciate your taking the time to come. We've been watching Joy in Our Town. I'm Ann Farrell Tata, and we will see you next time on Joy in Our Town.
This program has been sponsored by the Trinity Broadcasting Network and made possible by your telethon dollars. Your continual support can keep Joy in Our Town brought to your home every day. So write Joy in Our Town, P.O. Box A, Santa Ana, California, 92711.